All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. A few questions came in. We'll see where they go. Hope everyone celebrated Purim is recovered. Question came in, and that is asceticism a virtue or not? Right, when it comes to Judaism. Right, so asceticism, just in case anyone doesn't know what that is, right? It means denial of physical or psychological desires in order to attain a spiritual goal, meaning a lifestyle, let's say, characterized by abstinence from sensual pleasure, other things that have to do with spiritual goals. In other words, person's going to be interested in, let's say, doing things that are not going to be good for the body, right? They're gonna roll around in the snow when it's 30 below, in tank tops and in shorts. Right, so the path of the just, the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, of blessed memory, in his epic work, Path of the Just, says like this. He says that a person can think they're really holy. What are they going to do? They're going to roll around in the snow when it's freezing cold. Now, I would put in parentheses, okay, let's do it better. Let's roll around in the snow when it's freezing cold in shorts, in a tank top. I'm going to afflict the body. Going to afflict the body to afflict the soul, to purify myself. Yeah, it's a Christian idea. It's a pagan idea. Does it have anything to do with Judaism? No. We're supposed to enjoy this world. The Ramchal there, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, says, person thinks if they do such a thing, they're going to be considered righteous. They're going to be considered holy. So the Ramchal there says, I beg to differ. Person's not going to be holy. He's going to be a chump. Kaufman's language. He's going to be a fool. That's what fools do. Going to abuse the body. Who says you're allowed to abuse the body? According to Torah mitzvahs, you're allowed to abuse the body? No. When we afflict the body, when are you supposed to do that? Yom Kippur. What is affliction of the body? You'll get there one day. In actually, probably in the near future, in the book of Leviticus chapter 16, I give on Sundays, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We're gonna get there next number of verses, but the Torah says on Yom Kippur you afflict yourself. What does it mean? What does it mean to afflict yourself? The rabbis tell us it means you don't eat, you don't drink. It means you fast. That's affliction. Is a person allowed to afflict the body in general? No. Totally forbidden. Totally forbidden. We're obligated to use this world, to enjoy this world, get benefits. Right? I'm allowed to eat. I'm allowed to drink. Now, just so happens I'm not allowed to be a glutton. Right? I'm not allowed to, eat so much. I'm, overweight and put my life in danger. I'm allowed to drink. Right? I'm allowed to drink. Who says I'm allowed to be an alcoholic? Not allowed to be an alcoholic. But I'm allowed to drink. The Ramban, Nachmanides, beginning of chapter 19, book of Leviticus, where the Torah says you have to be holy because God is holy. So what does it mean? It means that even if I'm allowed to eat and drink, doesn't mean I'm allowed to abuse it. Can I eat chocolate? Sure. Should I eat 4 chocolate bars in one shot? No. I mean, if you want to start shaking, maybe, right? Certainly not good. Blood sugar go to high heaven, right? Certainly not good. But I'm allowed to eat it. I don't have to do things, that I know are bad for the body. Self-mutilation. We'll throw that out there, right? Self-mutilation, forbidden. Even if a person says it makes me look beautiful, right? Body piercing. Certainly for a guy, forbidden. No question. For women as well, right? That's mutilation of the body. Who says I'm allowed to do that? They say, okay, that's different. That's beautification of the body, so to speak. I don't know. A person's got, piercings on their eyebrow or on their lip or, wherever. That makes it beautiful. Then I'll say, why not? What's the problem? You're not allowed to. Body piercing forbidden, even for women. Women want to wear an earring or earrings, not a problem, as long as they're modest. Not a problem, right? For a guy, that'd be a problem. It's wearing women's clothing. You tell me. There are men that wear earrings. It's an in thing years ago, right? Men started wearing earrings, okay? Now all of a sudden that makes it men's clothing? No, not men's clothing. So a man who wears an earring is a problem. Definitely a problem. It's a Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition says a woman's not allowed to wear man's clothes. A man's not allowed to wear women's clothes. Now it goes further. It's not just clothing. So a person can't be a cross-dresser. Never mind transgender. We spoke about that. But a man wants to be a cross-dresser, forbidden. A woman wants to wear pants dressed like a man for a Jew, forbidden. Forbidden. Oh, what about those type of pants? You can't see the split in between the legs? Still forbidden. Men's clothing. Oh, someone's going to tell me, what about pants that are made for women? So, who cares? What do I care? Say it's made for women. Are they really men's pants? Men's pants. No difference. Forbidden. So there are things a man can't do that a woman does, and a woman can't do that a man does. All right. For instance, again, a woman, wearing men's clothing. Or there's a whole question: can a woman carry a gun, pack a piece? So what about protection? Isn't protection permissible? Maybe. Right? There's a whole discussion. I don't necessarily want to get into, but it's a whole discussion. Why? Because a gun is a weapon of a man. You can say, but things have changed. I don't know. I'm not saying women, don't carry guns. They do. They know what they're doing, right? They do. But we already have precedent. Where's the precedent? How did Yael kill Sisera? What did she do? She took a tent peg. She got him drunk, right? Other things going on, tired him out, and she cut off her head, cut off his head. Why didn't you do it with the sword? Right? Commentaries asked, should have done it with the sword. Why didn't she do it with the sword? What's the answer? Sword's a male garment. She wasn't allowed to do it. Right? So today might be different for protection. Could be. Depends what type of gun. Whatever. It's a discussion. But people have to know men can't wear women's clothing, vice versa. The cross-dresser forbidden. Not only that, goes one step further. Man looks in the mirror, stands there for 20 minutes, making a prim and improper himself, right? Who says that's permitted? To make sure it doesn't look bad. When he goes out, his hair is in place. He doesn't look like a schlep. He doesn't look disheveled, okay? Right? That's one thing. Sitting there for 20 minutes, looking and staring and this and that. How do I look? That's what women do. So women do it, that's fine, right? That's the norm. A guy does that, that's a problem. That's a problem, right? For extended amount of time, couple minutes just to make sure, whatever, how they look good. But if they're sitting, they're going like this, you know how to dress, it's going on for 20 minutes, half an hour, yeah, that's going to be a problem. That's definitely going to be a problem. So there are issues. There are issues, but somebody points out no flagellation of the body, right? Can't whip your body. Can't cause damage to your body. The major difference between Jews and Christians. We look at the world, okay, we might have messed it up, but we have an opportunity to fix it. We have an opportunity to sanctify it. How do we sanctify it? Mitzvahs. Sanctify it by making blessings, by prayer, by doing good things that God wants us to do. He doesn't want us to mutilate the body, right? He doesn't want a self-punishment. I'm going to walk around in snow when it's freezing cold, right? Beautiful. What a great idea. Ramchal says you're a fool. That doesn't make a person righteous. What makes a person righteous, like on Purim, what do you do on Purim? You sanctify the physical. That's a lot more difficult. If you tell me on Yom Kippur, what do you do on Yom Kippur? You're fasting. You feel like a piece of dirt. You're doing repentance, hopefully, right? So that's easy. Everyone's in the same frame of mind, so to speak. That 26, 27 hours, you're working on yourself is one thing, right? A person comes into Purim and all the craziness of Purim, eating and drinking and drinking and eating and whatever. You're sanctifying the physical. What comes out of your mouth? Are you talking words of Torah? Are you trying to be medabek to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You're trying to draw close to God. Sanctify the physical. Much more difficult. Much, much more difficult. So it takes effort. It's not an easy thing. Definitely not an easy thing. The Gemara says one of the things, test a person. Koso, how they drink, what comes out of their mouth. What do they say? They just do stupid things. They just foolish. It comes out words of Torah. The person only going to do foolish things and, mess up their mitzvah observance for the day. They can't make blessings. They can't pray, this, that. Not allowed to drink. Commentaries say not allowed to drink. Right? Sanctifying the physical, much more difficult. Oh, but this world, the Christians say it's so bad, so evil. Yeah, who made it evil? We did. We messed it up. We have an opportunity to fix it. We have an opportunity to sanctify the physical. Many things we do. We can't abuse things. Food, you can't abuse. Drink, you can't abuse. Plenty of things. Are you allowed to do it? Sure. Within reason. Doesn't mean I'm allowed to do whatever I want. Doesn't mean I can take it to X extreme. Not allowed to. So doing anything to the body that's bad. Smoking be bad. Everyone agrees. Smoking is bad. Bad for your health. Take off years of your life. Right? So who says you're allowed to do that? You're not allowed to. Anything's going to endanger the body. You're going to say, what if I eat, this cake? Could that endanger the body? Could. Eat enough of it. Right? Within reason. Can a person enjoy sweets? Yeah. Got plenty in my house. Got to get rid of before Passover. Can you enjoy chocolate? Yeah. Enjoy ice cream? Yeah. Overabundance? No. Everything within reason. But I'm not allowed to abuse the body. So asceticism has no place in Judaism. No, a person could say, I want to work on speaking Lashon Hara, so I'm not going to speak. Right? There are people that take what they call a tinus dibur. They fast literally from speaking. So they don't have this issue. Right? So, they want to work on that. Okay. Is there anything wrong with it? No. You're going to say, but a person has to go that far? No, not necessarily. But there are people that, will take things on. And people say, okay, I want to work on, controlling my appetite. Right? Or not eating. Rav Yisrael Salanter, blessed memory, the head of the Musar movement, the movement of ethics. So we say, even if a person's really hungry, you got a whole plate of food in front of you, leave something over. Do not finish every last thing like you're shoveling it in. Leave something over. Why? Who said you have to eat everything? You have to lick the plate clean. I understand a person's hungry, okay? But what's the point? You have to show control. We always have to be in control, right? That's not necessarily an easy thing, by any stretch. So there someone mentioned you affect the body, fasting elevates the soul. You're right. Should a person in general fast 3 times a week? So the answer is no. Why not? Why should a person do it? Because we're much weaker today. Since we're much weaker, you're not going to learn properly. You're not going to function properly because we're much weaker. So someone will say, well, weren't there great rabbis that fasted twice a week? Monday, Thursday, right? Yeah, but not this generation. Not this generation. Also, someone asked for Victor Miller, one of the Torah giants of the last generation, and they asked him about, saying Tikkun Chatzos. Get this question every so often. Tikkun Chatzos, person gets up past midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And they say all these prayers on the ground, remembering the Beis Hamikdash, remembering the temple, the destruction of the temple. They had someone ask me. I had a number of people ask me. But, they ask, I want to take that on. I want to do that. Now, you get up in the middle of the night, messes up your sleep. Totally messes up your sleep. You say, no, I'm going to sleep early, whatever. But this is the way of the evil inclination. Why do I say it's the way of the evil inclination? The evil inclination, yeah, I want you to be so righteous. You're going to do something most people don't do. Probably majority, 99% of Orthodox Jews do not do this. Right? Get up in the middle of the night, throw your whole system off. Try and get up, twice in the middle of the night, 3:30 in the morning, like I do. Throws your system off. Definitely throws the system off. So, that being the case, person says, guess what? I still want to do it. I want to be at a higher level. Don't you think it's an important thing to do? Yeah. Yeah, it's an important thing to do. But the evil inclination is going to tell you, sure, why not? It's going to mess everything up. You get up in the middle of the night. Yeah, you have to take a nap during the day. It just throws the system off. So Victor Miller, blessed memory, what was his answer? The answer is no. He says, don't get up in the middle of the night to do it. If you want to sit, and mourn about the temple before you go to sleep, and he said, make sure your wife's asleep. She doesn't see you do this, right? Before you go, if you're married, before you go to sleep, what do? You sit on the floor for a minute. He said a minute. He didn't even say 5 minutes. He said 1 minute, sit on the floor. Think about the destruction of the temple, what it means. That's it. I told this person, that's what Victor Miller said. He says, don't you think it's a good thing? I said, he's a Torah giant of the last generation. Listen to what he says. Don't mess up your sleep patterns. Don't try and be more righteous than you are. Take on what you can. Don't jump levels. Right? I don't know anybody, and unless they're hiding it, I don't know any of my contemporaries getting up in the middle of the night, say Tikkun Chatzos, to say this, in honor of to remember the destruction of the temple. I know some people get up early in the morning, to learn before they pray. Okay. That's another issue. That's something totally different. That's fine. But getting up at like 1 a.m. and whatever, nobody does it. You're going to say, but isn't it a good thing to do? It doesn't matter what I think or not. Might be a good thing to do, right? But that wouldn't be one of the first things I would take on. There are many, many, many more things to do before that. So I would take Rabbi Miller's advice. For a minute, you want to do it? For a minute before you go to sleep. Doesn't have to be before midnight. Right? For a minute, think. Sit on the floor. Think what it means we don't have a temple today. What are we missing today? Think about it for a minute, then go to sleep. That's for this generation. You got to say, but it's a very weak generation. You're right. You don't put yourself in a situation where, first of all, you think you're better than everyone else. You're doing something nobody else does. Nobody else does. We don't do it. Is it important to remember about the temple? Sure. It's expensive what? Expensive sleep? It's expensive a normal schedule. You're going to say, but come on, after 120 years, you can sleep as much as you want when you're dead. But if he says, no, you got plenty of things to do when you're dead also in the spiritual world. We won't go there. But the point is, we're not looking to jump levels. I hear this a lot. Men, women, doesn't matter. I hear it across the board. That, people want to do things that nobody else does. Someone gave my Rebbe about something a number of years ago. Wanted to do something that nobody else does. Nobody else does. This person wanted to be unique. He wanted to be unique. Was he the righteous of the generation? No. Not even close. Right? I don't know where he's holding, doesn't really matter. But the person came and said, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Rabbi said, no. He said, you're not going to do something, put yourself out there that nobody else does. You don't do it. All right. You got to say, but even if, let's say it'd be permissible. I had a case, somebody, it was a woman, right? I'm not going to make fun of women here, right? It was a woman. I'll tell you what it was. A woman asked me if she's allowed to wear tzitzis. Now, tzitzis is not really considered a male garment, right? And it's a mitzvah bomb by time, right? All day long that you can wear it, wear it at night also. So it's women don't do it. Women not obligated to. But if one of them wanted to do it, I heard a rabbi once say if it's a male garment, if they would make tzitzis that are more feminine, maybe a woman could wear it. Okay, you're not going to see it, right? In the Orthodox community, you'll never see it. I don't think in the modern Orthodox community you'll see any women wearing tzitzis, or not by Chabad or by anybody. This woman says, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Very adamant. Which she wasn't a feminist, not by any stretch. You want to be drawn close to God, draw closer to God, whatever you want to take this on. So back and forth. Wouldn't you say, even if I did this and that, it'd be permitted? I said, even if I would, even though I would say, according to certain conditions, maybe it's okay, right? Nobody does it. It certainly would be looked down upon. If not, people are going to say, oh, it's totally forbidden, they can't do it, whatever, right? Without getting this whole discussion. So this woman was adamant. Fine. I said to her, listen, even if I would agree with you in every, in all the proof that you brought, let's say I agree, well, it doesn't really matter. But let's say I agree. I said, I'm going to tell you one thing. And that is, if anyone would ever find out you do this, I said, you have kids of marriageable age. I said, I promise you, I'm not cursing you. I said, but I promise you, if anyone would find out you do this, they will never marry your kids. Your kids will never get married. That's too far off. That's doing something nobody does. It will not be accepted. You will be blackballed. Your family will 100% be blackballed. So a person can say, okay, so we'll marry someone who's, a little more open, whatever it is. I said, you won't marry off your kids. Think about it. Think about it. You won't, it won't happen. Why won't it happen? Because if they find out that a person does something that nobody else does, and I don't even say this a minority opinion, nobody. When I say nobody, there's no women wear tzitzis that are in the ultra-Orthodox community. Ultra-Orthodox, modern Orthodox, Hasidic, Chabad, whatever, Sephardic, doesn't matter. Nobody. I said, that's a little bit weird. I'm not saying it's being done for a feminist reason. It doesn't matter. Nobody does it. You don't do it. Because if they find out, anybody would find out that this person does it. Anyone checking out their kids for, for marriage, they find that out, that family will be a pariah. That family will be an absolute pariah. And no one will go near them because they think it's weird. And it is. 100%. It would be weird. So nobody's going to do that. Right? So we don't want to stick out. Again, even if we had ways to say it was permissible. Right? See, the thing with open orthodoxy, which is really not orthodox, but within open orthodoxy, they are testing these, they're testing these boundaries. They have women that they won't call them rabbis. They'll call them something else, amarats. And they'll be able to, answer questions, dealing with, different things or whatever. But essentially, they're learning similar things to men, which is very interesting because, they want to learn Talmud, and other things. The Gemara says clear, that's not where a woman is going to find her satisfaction. That's not what she should be doing. Different reasons, right? So what would be the obvious question? You'd ask them, okay, you want to learn the Talmud, and you want to learn this, you want to learn that. The Talmud says it's bad for you. So Kaufman would say, why do you want to learn it? The Gemara says it's bad. The Gemara says it's negative for a woman, right? That has nothing to do with intelligence. Zero to do with intelligence. There are other factors, doesn't matter, right? So I would ask the question, if the Gemara says it's bad, why do you want to do it? There'll be people who say, I'm not doing it for feminist reasons. I'm doing it intellectual stimulation. And I enjoy that. Okay, right? You can enjoy it. No one's saying no. No one's saying, oh, you're going to break your head. It's going to be so bad. You're going to hate it. No, there are people enjoying it. There are people enjoying it. Okay. So doesn't make it any more permissible. But they're testing boundaries on things that aren't done. So they're going to say, wouldn't it be innovators? Wouldn't it be innovators? The reform movement, they just got rid of stuff. They said, well, it doesn't apply. We're going to get rid of it. We're not going to do it. So, okay, their goal was to uproot Torah. So that we understand, you stay away from them. Conservative movement, only 10 years behind. And most of the rabbis, when they started out, were religious and were Orthodox. What happened? Got watered down. They began to pick and choose. This mitzvah doesn't make so much sense. We'll take it out. this doesn't make so much sense, we'll take it out. We don't want to be necessarily Orthodox, but we want to be the next great people in the next generation. Pass it down to the next generation. How's that worked out for them? Disaster. 60, 70% intermarriage rate, gay rights, all these things, forget it, right? They're only 10 years behind, Reform. Modern Orthodox, 10 years behind them. They're not much better, in many ways. I'm not going to say all of them, there are very strong religious people, that are more modern. Okay, right? I'm not gonna, demolish everybody, right? But, you have a group, they're testing boundaries and they'll be tested. Because once you open up a Pandora's box, that's what happens. A disaster, an absolute disaster. So not only that, but it goes further. You got some of these rabbis saying, when it came to the binding of Isaac, Isaac failed, Abraham failed. That's absolute heresy, right? Absolute heresy. Or the modern Orthodox rabbi said, Moses failed, in this way and that way and the other way. Right? It's heresy. So you have statements being made that are horrific, go against what the Torah says. So the further you push the button, the worse it is. The worse it is. But I mean, you're talking things like, that they're putting the spin, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, King David. That's one of the things my Rebbe came out against very strongly, Chief Rabbi of England, right? Rabbi Mervis, I just call him Rabbi, whatever. And he came out and said, among other things, even though the Ultra Orthodox don't really recognize him, it's a political position, but came out and said it was not a bad thing when the English government, wanted all schools to teach about same-sex marriages, even yeshivas. The Muslims, they didn't make an issue of it. You know why? Very simple, because if they would have made an issue with the Muslims would have burnt down England. 100%, nothing to talk about. They would have just sat there and burnt down the whole country. So he represents, so what did my Rebbe say? Rabbi Mervis represents Torah. He's the chief rabbi. The chief rabbi, if you want to tell me it's a political position, the chief rabbi says it's okay. Even if he says wink, wink, okay, we'll teach you, but, and it's a good thing, but I don't really believe it and all that. No, what he said. It's absolutely what he said. So if it's absolutely what he said, even if he didn't mean it and what he meant, whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is, says my Rebbe, he represents Orthodox Jews in England. Whether the other Orthodox rabbis recognize them or not, doesn't matter. What are people going to say? People are going to say, see, Chief Rabbi says you're allowed to teach about same-sex stuff. So it must be okay. That's called the desecration of God's name. Not in the literal sense, but that makes us look really bad. Because now you say, I don't care if it's a political thing and what he meant and all this. I'm going to go to Webster's 8th definition. Who cares? What he said is wrong. So if I would have been there, I would have said, Mr. Mervis is going to take away his rabbiship. Mr. Mervis, let me ask you, what does it say in Leviticus chapter 18? Doesn't it say man can't lie with man? And that's an abomination, the act, not the person. What do you do with that first? Oh, it's a good question. Really, I hold it's forbidden, right? It's forbidden according to the Torah. Very good. So if it's forbidden according to the Torah, how are you allowed to say it's okay to teach it? Oh, it's not what I meant, and I really meant this, and we're going to make our spin on. No, it's forbidden. It's forbidden to do. If the act is forbidden, how could you teach it? You can't. But if you represent what the Torah says, and they're going to now say, guess what? The chief rabbi says it's okay. That's disgusting. That's a desecration of God's name. Again, not according to the literal sense, but that's giving off an impression. It's not true, right? It's totally not true. He would have to come out and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're going to have to shut down our schools. We're not going to teach them. In Volozhin, why did the yeshiva shut down? One of the reasons. Because the Russian government wanted them to teach for 1 hour. I think 1 hour a week, the Russian language. And then the Tziv understood if they're going to make conditions like that, they'll make worse conditions. So what did he do? He shut down the yeshiva. He shut it down. So what should Mr. Mervis have said? He should have said, no. That goes against our religion. We're not going to teach it in our schools. And even if they would have said, we're going to take away money and funding in it, okay. So you shut down the school. You do not allow the school to put this garbage in it. You raise your own money, get your own private schools. You don't worry the government's going to put in money. If the government puts in money, balameya, baladeya, you have 100, everyone's going to listen to you. You're the one paying the bills. They have to listen. Problem taking money. From the Israeli government, secular government, same thing. Israeli government wanted to do that also a number of years ago. They want to start teaching all kinds of things in yeshivas. No. Right? We said, Ad Khan, this is it. This is the limit. You say, oh, you want to get money? You want to get money? Then you have to do what we say. So my Rebbe and many like him, I shouldn't say many, but, there are many, many schools that do not take money from the government in Israel. For this reason, they have to raise their own funds. Okay? So they'll raise the funds. They'll do what they have. They'll do what they have to do to raise the money. But if you allow someone who's treif to give their treif ideology, their non-kosher ideology, and they're going to say, we're going to cut off your funding. Okay, cut it off. We'll call your bluff. Call it off. So do it. We'll raise our own money, even if we have to suffer going through it. Because we're not going to take soiled money. That's the problem. You take money from them, that's what happens. So I remember that when this was going on, I told my Rebbe, I said, stay, take money from the government. This is what they're, this is what happens. He says, doesn't matter. You still have to protest against it. He said, even if I don't agree that they take money from the government, this is wrong. They shouldn't take money away because they want to teach all this garbage. So maybe I'm more of a fanatic. Maybe I'm more fanatic than him. I say, forget it. So take your money and shove it. That's what I would say. We don't need it. We'll raise money other ways. Now, even if they did that, would it be hard? Yeah. Not going to say it wouldn't be hard. But you don't want to give them an inch. If an institution is going to take money, just realize they may take money and the people giving the money are going to say, I want you to teach this, that, and the other thing. And the answer is, you don't have a say. You have no say. Some of the know-how movement asked me, listen, we help you with this, help you with that. Will you give us any say in anything? I said, no. Isn't that nice? Take money, you have no say. Said, I'll give a suggestion box. You can make suggestions, but, you're not the final authority. You're giving based on what I do or what I can do or whatever, right? You want to dictate now I'm giving the money on condition. No, there are no conditions. No conditions. You can make suggestions, okay? I'm always open to suggestions, sometimes, right? It's not my way or the highway, okay? Right? But a person has to know, you're backing the person. You're helping the person. Now, I can say if the person does terrible things, you can say, okay, I'm not giving money. I'm not going to help them, okay? That's fair. You don't like what they do, don't support them. Okay. But you don't come in. See, this is a problem. People come in and say, okay, I'm going to give you this. You have to do this. Why are there conditions? Why should there be conditions? So anyway, this person I told to, nothing came to fruition anyway, but it didn't matter. It was kind of a test, right? They were sort of testing me in a certain way. So they said, would you give me a say in anything? I said, no. I said, I'm running the thing. This is what I said, you want to make a suggestion? Okay. I'll listen to suggestions. I think it's a good idea. Very good. If I don't think it's a good idea or I'll get other advice, very good. Right? But I'm not going to be dictated to. I'm not going to have anyone dictate. You want to do it? Go ahead, do it. But you're not going to give and say you do it my way. Right? And there are people, unfortunately, money blinds them. So if they get money or someone's helping them, even in a major way, They may say, okay, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And sometimes you can't. There's a limit, right? Maybe, some things maybe you can't have your name associated with, or whatever. Even if you want to help them, you say, well, I can't. In this case, I can't. They may get very offended. Okay. That could end relationships. Could be. Could be. You don't compromise for Torah. You do not compromise for Torah. Let me repeat that again. You do not compromise for Torah. Rabbi Moshe Schneider, blessed memory, the yeshiva in London, during the World War II, they were starving. Right? There was no food. And there are people willing to donate that, donate a lot of money to desecrated Shabbos. He wouldn't take the money. Could have saved them in many ways, would not take the money. Why not? Because somebody like that, that's great Shabbos, gives money to a yeshiva. So that influence of them giving the money has influence on the walls of the yeshiva. They didn't want that. They wanted pure money. Money that wasn't from desecration of Shabbos. Right? For a Jew. Non-Jew, doesn't matter. Desecrate Shabbos, they want to donate good. That's a different issue. But a Jew desecrating Shabbos is getting tainted money. Now, there are people that would take it. Right? That's a whole nother discussion. Why would they take it? Why would they take it? Because they'll say, that's going to draw a person closer, potentially. Draw them closer to Shabbos, to Torah, to mitzvahs. Other people say, you're not allowed to take. Why are you not allowed to take? Because again, you're taking money and tainted. They don't know any better, this, that. Doesn't matter. Fact is, they got money legally. That's the creation of Shabbos. So what about, remember, there's a story of Ochana Wassam and Hashem Yikam Damoy. God should avenge his blood. Was in America before, during the war, World War II, and he was there raising money. It was before the war. He was there raising money, and there were all these Jews, playing cards, gambling, whatever. And he was saying, and someone said to him, it's where a lot of this money comes from. They wanted to help the yeshiva. A nice size amount of money. Rabbi Chana said, I won't take it. All right? These people laughed. They laughed at him. He's a famous student of the Chofetz Chaim. They laughed at him. They said, everybody comes to America, they take from us. All places they take for us. And you're not going to take, you're going to starve. Yeshiva's going to shut down. He goes, it's not going to shut down. We may start, but I'm not taking tainted money. What about other places? I can't answer for them. We're not going to answer for what other people do. He said, and they were having tremendous difficulty. He said, I'm not taking tainted money. I refuse to take tainted money. And they left. They left. And he refused because he knows if holy money goes in, good things happen. You have tainted money, different issue. Right? Different issue. Yeah. So I'll take questions. Someone asked, during the festival, before Shabbos, do we take a shower, cook for Shabbos? No. No, I have to shower. Let's say a festival comes out on Wednesday. They got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Shabbos, you're not allowed to take a shower. Not only are you not allowed to take a shower, you have to make an Erev Tavshilin. Meaning, I take an egg, take a piece of bread or matzah, and I make a declaration and a blessing saying that I'm allowed to cook from Shabbos to the festival. Meaning, you make the food prepared for Shabbos as long as you have an open flame. You got an open flame, you're allowed to cook. Difference between a festival and Shabbos, that you're allowed to do, right? That you're allowed to do. So that being the case, I can cook on Friday, can't cook on Shabbos. So in other words, I could spend all day Friday cooking as long as I made the Erev Tavshilin. As long as I made it, I can cook. Come sundown Friday, can't cook anymore. Not allowed to cook. So how do you prepare for Shabbos during Pesach? So again, if Passover comes out Saturday night, or let's say better, Passover comes out Wednesday night, right? So Passover comes out Wednesday night. What do I do before sundown? What do I do? So I would make an Erev Tavshilin. I'd take an egg and matzah, make a blessing, make sure I have a flame that is lit, that stays on, and then I can cook on Friday before Shabbos. That's how you cook for Shabbos. Someone asks, why would they listen to anyone that speaks against Torah? Because people do. People don't necessarily know, right? Some people think, Rabbi Mervis in English is like the greatest thing since sliced cheese, and how can you come out against it? Because he's a heretic. What do you mean? Person's a heretic. It's a mitzvah to deride him. It's a mitzvah to come out against him. Why do people listen to him? People listen to all kinds of fruitcakes. Can't answer that. People are stupid. Why do they do it? Good question. Good question. But how can you listen to someone who says you're allowed to teach about homosexuality in schools, in Jewish schools, in yeshivas? That makes sense, right? Totally doesn't make sense, right? So a person has to be careful what they listen to, what we always say. You got to be careful. There are people who speak very smooth. They speak a lot of fluff, as well. But guess what? A person can have 20,000 followers, 30,000 followers, or whatever. Give all these classes and say, I do understand. The Ultra Orthodox is going to get upset at me. But come on, this 3-year-old's been playing. This 3-year-old boy's been playing with dolls his whole life. Do you think it's any coincidence he turns out to be a homosexual? Not kesher. What's the connection? If he's homosexual, yeah, it's a problem. It's a serious problem. God's going to look the other way. This is what he said. God will look the other way. God will understand that's not what the prohibition is. Now, you want to listen to someone like that? It's got 30,000 followers, 40,000 followers, more. Person puts up stuff every day, every other day. Wouldn't trust one word this person says. Not one word. Wouldn't answer amen to any of his blessings. That's absolute heresy. Oh, come on. You really think God's going to strike him down? It's a disease. I get it. I mean, I shouldn't say disease. It's an evil inclination. It's a twisted, sick, evil inclination. That's not normal. Totally not normal. People do it. Okay. Listen, there's total prohibition against bestiality. Bestiality. Have relations with animals. Anyone doesn't know. Keep this clean. It exists. People do it. I'm not saying, you get the vast majority of people doing it. But why does the Torah say it's forbidden? Because it was done. You can say, oh, that's gross. Only sick people do it. Maybe. Not going to necessarily disagree. That's a perversion. That's a total perversion. Why does the Torah have to come and tell me? Because it happened. Totally happened. Right? This happens. So now you're going to say it's the most severe prohibition. And a person says, God's going to understand? Really? Okay, I'm not God. If I were, put on my funny glasses, my funny mustache, and I say, I didn't want you to act like this. I didn't want you to do this. But God, you made that gene inside of me. He said, yeah, you also have an anger gene. You have a conceited gene. You have a miserly gene. I got a bunch of genes that are bad. So what? I didn't tell you to act on it. Yeah, but it's part of my DNA. There are a lot of things part of our DNA. We caused ourselves, or God gave it to us. So now you have a very strange disposition. You have a hard disposition. Okay. And a person likes to stay up late at night. He doesn't want to get up in the morning to pray. You know what God says? I don't care, Kaufman. Get up and pray. Shut up and eat the matzah. That's your obligation. Do what you like to do. You don't like to do. You're a night owl. Get over it. This is your obligation. Well, eating that much matzah in 35 seconds and whistling Dixie is kind of hard. So eat it. That's what you got to do. You got to eat it. Doesn't matter what your disposition is. Right? Not about what I like to do or not like to do. God says, shut up and eat the matzah. That's it. You want to question him? You don't want to do it? Your choice. Your choice. But what's the bottom line? Got to do what he says. Got to try and understand what he says. Is it easy? Who says life is easy? Is it fair? It's not about being fair. Life has nothing to do with being fair. Tell you a story happened to me today. Got totally messed up this morning. Going in, I was going to take one bus left, whatever. Got there later than I wanted to. Okay. Every step, earlier today, disaster. in different ways. Absolute disaster. I mean, I should say disaster, whatever. Extremely inconvenient, all kinds of other things. I always say when a day starts bad, it just gets worse. At least by me, right? Okay, got to what I needed to do, got back to learning, this, that. Okay, was thrown off a little bit. So the rest of the day went all right, seemingly all right. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Life takes you in that direction. Okay. Why did it have to happen that way? Don't know. Was I supposed to meet someone? Was I supposed to see something? Don't know. Right? Nothing came out of it. Sort of negative things. Not many positive things. You can say, wow, you got there in one piece. Everything was good. Okay. Right? But it doesn't matter. It's an obligation to pray, an obligation to do other things. Life does not always go our way. A lot of times it doesn't. The question is how we deal with it. It's a question of perspective, right? Total question of perspective, right? So a person has to be careful. As we said before, you got to do what he says. And if there are rabbis out there, I don't care how many followers they have, has nothing to be, nothing that has to do with me being jealous of them. And I don't have as many followers and all this. That person's a heretic. He's a heretic. No, I understand. After Orthodox are going to be upset. Yeah, you know why we're going to be upset? Because what do you do with Leviticus chapter 18? No, you can understand. God's going to look the other way. Why is God going to look the other way? Why is he going to look the other way? He was born that way. Yeah, I was born with a lot of deficiencies. I can tell you. I'm not going to list them. Got a lot of deficiencies. I was born that way, not things I added on. I had plenty of things I added on also. Does God want you to go after them? No. Does it matter how you wired? No. Does it mean you have certain dispositions, maybe other people don't, or more or less? Sure. 100%. But we can be influenced in different ways and do terrible things to ourselves. True. 100% true. But at the end of the day, we got to take responsibility. You can't have some nutcase saying, oh, God's just going to understand. With Leviticus 18, we can take it in perspective. We can use Webster's 15th definition. Oh, that's beautiful. No, I beg to differ. That is not the right attitude. It's forbidden. I feel bad. I know a lot of these people feel bad. They're that way. 100%. They come out of the closet, they march, they do all these things. Would they have you to ask them? Bottom line, would you rather be straight and normal or be this way? Guaranteed. Very high percentage would say, I'd rather be normal. You take that with a grain of salt. That's what I think. That's what I've heard. Okay? So, it's a desire. It's a weird desire that people have. Okay? But we have a lot of bad desires. We're not allowed to act on. Totally not allowed to act on. Someone asks, Sim said he wouldn't change the law for any other laws. So why are we supporting any one organization that does that? Thank you very much. Very good. Very good. Why would people do that? Because they don't think there's anything wrong with it. Because their minds are messed up. That's why. People have their minds open till the brains fall on the floor. Why do some people like more liberals? Don't know. Because they don't want to be fanatics. They don't want to be like us. They don't want to be like, they don't want to be fanatics. Or, the people get messed up. They, had a bad experience. Let's say they grew up Orthodox, had a bad experience. So they may end up considering and say that, it's the right place, it's the right fit, and this and that. Okay. That means it's right. According to us, it's not right. Totally not right. That's where I fit in. Okay, something happened. I can't judge that. I can't judge what a person went through. But guess what? Even if they went through it and they had a bad teacher and they had a bad experience, that's not what Torah is. It's about how you deal with it. It's how you deal with life. Imagine I heard Rebel Wine, you should be well, one say, imagine, kid in 4th grade, 5th grade, the bad teacher says, that's it. I'm done with school. I don't need no education. Pink Floyd reference. Anyone doesn't know, right? I don't need no education. Yeah. He's going to say, I'm out of here. I'm going to go get a job. Never happened. Never happened. Why not? 10 years old. What's he going to do? Right? He's going to chalk it up to bad experience. Maybe he needs therapy to move on. And hopefully won't be scarred for life. And if he says, oh, that's what Judaism is, I don't have anything to do with it. Look what happened. This professor, this teacher, whatever, did this rabbi did this, did that. Yeah, they're still going to have to answer. And that rabbi, teacher, whoever is going to have to answer. Right? The question is how God views it. Good question. Rabbi embarrasses someone in public. And that person says, that sends them on a spiral out of Judaism. Beginning of the spiral, or the end of the spiral, let's say. Is that rabbi liable? Oh yeah, destroyed someone. Totally destroyed someone. What about the person? What about the person got destroyed? Is he liable for all the sins that he does? Liable. In God's eyes, he's liable. Now, is he under onus? Right? Because he got embarrassed in public? No. Not under onus. We don't just say you can do whatever you want. Just because you had a bad experience. I can tell you, I've seen certain things, really bad taste in my mouth. Okay. People are human. People, they can be disgusting people, do terrible things. Don't mix up Jews and Judaism. Okay. But there's always a but. You move on. You may need to speak to someone, you need to get over certain things, but that doesn't mean you throw out Judaism. If you did throw out Judaism, you're liable. You're liable. Now again, you're going to say you can't judge someone unless you've been in their shoes. Okay. But I'm saying if God's looking at this, and I'm not playing God here, but if he's looking at this, he's okay. You went through a test. You failed. You failed that test. But how was I expected to survive it? It was very hard. Okay. You're right. It was a very hard test. I agree. Right? But God gave you the vessel. He made you a vessel to be able to accept it, to be able to move on with life. Some people get stuck. They get stuck. Things happen, and they get stuck. They live in the past. Sometimes, again, if it's trauma, you can take what I say with a grain of salt. First, you got to get serious help. Try and get over it. God doesn't want you to get stuck. He doesn't want you to live in the past. When my Rebbe would say, you live in the past, you have no future. You got to move on. If you don't move on, you're dead. Life will kill you. Life will destroy you. You're right. People say, people said this, people have said that. You're right. You're right. Terrible things. So what? You know how many terrible things I've heard in my life? A lot. A lot of negative things. A lot of put downs. No pats on the back. No love in that sense. What do? Sit there and cry about it? Could. Definitely could. You get therapy for it. You can understand people are human. They make mistakes or whatever. And, build up your self-esteem. Because otherwise you get crushed. Crushed. And the best advice I was ever given by a rabbi was, these people are nuts. And they're insane. Why do I have to go through it? Don't know. That's a good question. Don't know. But see, when you go through it, and hopefully you're able to overcome it, and someone was bullied and other, you're right. These things are very hard things. Very hard things. How do you deal with it? You might need professional help. Okay. But, in a Torah perspective, we have to build ourselves up. To be, thank God we can learn Torah. Thank God we can listen to Torah. Thank God we have people to look up to. We have leaders. We have Torah leaders we can emulate. You think they had it easy? Nobody has it easy. Some in some ways, others in different ways. No one has it easy. Right? Not at all. But trials and tribulations we go through make us who we are. That's what it does. Makes us who we are. Right? Totally makes us who we are. Now, could a person get destroyed by it? Yeah. No question. A person can totally get destroyed by it. At the same time, a person can grow tremendously, regardless, whether it's disability, whether, it's low self-esteem, depression, other these things can be overcomable. I'm not going to say it's easy. Definitely not. I think in certain ways, a lot of things, if I have a proper Torah perspective, it gets rid of 80% of the problem. Other 20%, okay, you may need therapy, may need medication, it may need other things, right? But a proper perspective is everything. Everything. Even if you've been dumped on for so long and people make fun of you and this and that, and you're going to, and they're going to say, oh, I feel like a piece of dirt. You think I'm nothing? Well, guess what? God doesn't think I'm nothing. I'm creating his image. I can learn his Torah. I can understand what he says. I can understand what he wants. You know what? That's huge. That's huge. I care if people are going to put me down, say things, and you're a fanatic, and you're this, and whatever. And no one's ever patted you on the back, and no one's ever wanted to know why you're doing what you're doing. And yeah, no one seems to care, and there's no empathy and all this. Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. But you know what? This is not about ego. This is about understanding God knows what's best for you, even if it's hard, right? But we should be kissing the ground every day. I can listen to Torah. I can learn Torah. I can put it in my life. It doesn't matter what happened before. Doesn't matter, even though we get beaten down in life. What? Got the ability to learn God's Torah on a daily basis. Huge. Can celebrate his holidays. I can keep his mitzvahs, right? Or if you're a Noahide, keep less of them. Okay, right? We live in this whole messed up world. Totally upside down, but we should be whistling Dixie. We can even listen to Torah. And we want to listen to Torah. We don't want to get caught up in all this stupidity in the world. Huge. We should be kissing the ground every day. Yeah, someone asked an Abraham Avinu have his nose pierced. No, that was Rebecca. I don't know that he did. Certainly she did. So that's to prove people want to say, see, a woman can get a nose ring. Yeah, so we would call that, even if people do it, we hold this forbidden. We hold it shouldn't be done. Whether it's called body piercing or not, mutilation of the body, etc. Well, some people do it because it looks beautiful. Yeah. So I would say, some things that our matriarchs did that we don't do today, if we were holding by their level and living in a different world, maybe we say, okay, that's the norm. That's not a problem, right? Today, we wouldn't say that, and we're not on that level. I don't think anyone should even think they're on that level. Not even close. We have no idea. And that's one of the things, you get some unorthodox rabbi say, try and make a spin on what, that David was depressed and, Yaakov was depressed and different things, putting a 20th century spin, a 20th century spin on, what they're going through. And one of the things my Rebbe went to town against, Mr. Mervis for, trying to psychoanalyze, King David, or, Jacob or Yaakov Avinu. And he said, we cannot come up to the crust in their toenails. I'm not going to get gross here. We're not going to come close to who they were in a million, billion, zillion years if we lived on this earth. We have no idea who they are. And, and the greatness that they represented to even make such a comment. The Rebbe said, he thinks he's on par with King David. He thinks he's on par with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What are you kidding? Doesn't mean we don't have to try and understand what they did and what they said. Doesn't mean that, right? But to put them on par with 21st century psychology mumbo jumbo, no. That's heresy. Because that's saying, I understand them. I understand what they went through. You don't even understand who they are at any level. At any level. We try and understand, but we can't even fathom who they are. So my Rebbe went to town and demolished this person. Who are you? Who are you to say, oh, I know about Abraham? I know about King David. I know, he suffered from depression. Really. King David got up drop of a hat, playing his harp, learning Torah at a very deep level. We understand. We understand who he is, what made him tick. Very hard. Very hard to have any understanding of these people. Doesn't mean we don't have to try and understand. Try and learn better, learn deeper. I get it. But for someone to say, I understand who they are, and they're saying that's putting, what's the problem? Even if I would agree that they're right, maybe did suffer from, some level of depression or whatever it was, that's putting yourself, I wouldn't say that, but that's putting yourself on the same level. Make no mistake. You take all the Torah giants of this generation and previous generations. You're not going to equal Avraham Avinu. You're not going to get to Yitzhak Avinu. You're not going to get to Moshe Rabbeinu, not even close. With all the wisdom that we have and all the greatness of previous generations, zero. Compared to them, zero. Bunch of zeros. That's what it is. No offense to all the Torah giants. They're not even, you can't compare them. There's no comparison. The prophets don't even compare to them. Not Isaiah, not Ezekiel, not Jeremiah, none of the prophets. They come close to Avraham Avinu? Of course not. Much later. I'm not saying they're not great in their own right, for sure. Certainly not a prophet or son of a prophet. Never will I be a prophet. That's not the point. They're not even close. Not even close. Someone comes along and says, I think I understand. I think I understand who they are. Really? Who are you? Who are you? 21st century modern Orthodox rabbi that thinks it's good to teach homosexuality in schools? You're going to tell me you understand you're on par with King David himself. No offense, or I hope offense is taken. I beg to differ. You're not on that level. You're not even close to that level. You don't even come to the crust of the crust of the crust of their toenail. Not even close. Don't open up your big trap just to placate others to say, look, I'm a modern guy. I can speak about them like I speak about, anybody else. I am on par. No. Not only you're not on par, you're not even close. You're not even in the batting range. You're not even in the ballpark. You're way outside the ballpark, miles away. You can't get in because there's a windstorm. Right? It's like you're in quicksand. You're going to try and get out. You're sunk. That's why my Rebbe came out so strong against it. You don't make comparisons. The people you don't know anything about that are 10 times greater than will ever, ever, ever understand. You don't make comparisons. Even if I would agree, the comparison 21st century may seem like that's what they were going through. We don't know who they are. If you don't know who they are, you can't make a comment. Trying to understand, okay? I'm not stifling knowledge here, but you have, the Mishnah Perkei Avos, ethics from our father said you got to know your place. You absolutely have to know your place. Some people do not know their place. And they think they know a heck of a lot more than they do. So you have to learn. You have to learn what your place is. And you cannot compare 21st century psychology to King David, and to Yaakov Avinu. Forbidden. Totally forbidden. It's absolute heresy. Now you're going to say, wow, don't we have to try and understand? Yeah. Right? But there are a lot of caveats. And the caveat is you cannot put 21st century psychology on someone that you don't have a clue who they are. And what, and the depthness of who they are, the depth of who they are. See, depthness is not a word. Depth, it's not even a Scrabble word, right? Depth. We don't come up to their toenails, not even close. And for someone to say, I understand who he is, come on. It's a problem. So I always say, you got to be careful who you listen to, right? It's no question. Someone asked, can a Haredi Jew marry a non-Orthodox Jewess? You could. If you agree on most things, then, it shouldn't be an issue. What about things you disagree on? Okay, so you have to deal with it, right? It's possible. Nothing's impossible, in this case. If they're going in the same direction, they agree on most things. I mean, I've seen someone who's more modern Orthodox marry someone, who's got a, I would call Haredi, ultra-Orthodox, but at the same time, this person is more in tune in certain ways with modern Orthodox and being ultra-Orthodox, so it's a very interesting match, right? So that, that works, but it doesn't always work. You have someone who's modern Orthodox that wants TV in the house. Ultra-Orthodox person, another one on TV. Okay, so you got to work something out, right? There are going to be issues, philosophical issues, or maybe, halachic Jewish law issues. So you got to see. Not necessarily going to work out. Could. I'm not saying it can't. If you work out certain things, fine. Right? Other things may be more difficult. Depends where they're holding. Right? I'm just saying in generalities. Right? Yeah, you have to see how, you have to see the bigger picture, what's going on. Yeah, someone says Rashi's daughter's learning that. Yeah, those says they wore tefillin. Okay. Right? His daughter's wore tefillin or Michal wore tefillin. I don't know exactly. Right? Okay, so what? So I would say when you're on the level of Rashi's daughter, you tell me. That's not an insult. You're talking about people, you're talking about people in a time we don't have a clue about, right? So if certain individuals did something, and later generations say we don't do it for a lot of other reasons, it doesn't matter what they did. They could have been on a much higher level, different things. Every generation loses something. It's what we call Yerida Sadoros. There's a weakening of every generation. Further you get away from Mount Sinai. So if they're truly righteous, whatever, you're going to say next generation is just as righteous? No. Generations later, you're going to say 3, 4, let's say better. 1,000 years later. 1,100 years later. You want to say we're on par with Rashi's daughter? I don't think so. I don't think it's even close. You can say, but they did it. There's a precedent. Again, even if there's a precedent, doesn't mean we do it. It doesn't mean it's okay. Could be. Certain things have changed, though, over the centuries. We don't do it. We don't allow women to do it because it opens a Pandora's box. Right? I told someone who wanted to do this. There are many other mitzvahs, more important mitzvahs. If a person would do, I'd say, okay, so let's have a discussion. But some of these mitzvahs are definitely 100% feministly drawn. I'm not going to say all of them by any stretch. There are people that'll say they're doing it 100% for the sake of heaven, but the question is why? What's lacking over here? What's lacking is they want to do like what men do. That's what it sounds like. I'm not saying everybody has that intention, but it definitely sounds like, well, Rashi's daughters did it and others did it somewhere in history. Why can't I do it? The question is, why does the person want to do it? Person wants to doing it for the sake of heaven. Let me see people who are doing a lot of other things for the sake of heaven. Let me see they're keeping kashrus at the highest level. Let me see that they're learning the laws of Shabbos properly and they know what they're doing. And the laws of family purity laws and other things. Then we'll have a discussion, right? But a lot of it is feminist driven. If it's feminist driven, then they're going to forbid it across the board because it opens up a Pandora's box. Once you open up a Pandora's box, it's impossible to shut. Conservative movement opened that box by accepting and allowing women to be rabbis. So the year after this decision was made, I went there, studied by the conservative movement. And what happened? So it was very clear if the Talmudic department, which were mostly, a lot of people there were Orthodox, if they would have, if it was only up to them, they wouldn't have allowed it. But you had secular Israeli Hebrew teachers, history teachers, other people, really no connection to Judaism. And they also had a vote, and that split the entire movement, destroyed the entire movement. And now people do whatever they want. But that opened up a Pandora's box. So at that point where they were going to say we're considered a halachic movement, besides that, there are other things they did also that just threw them totally out of the box. Made them no different than reform eventually. Took a while, but, that's where they got. So a person can say, well, I'm on that level. Or I want to do it. It has nothing to do with feminist reasons. Okay, but you're opening the Pandora's box. We don't allow it. In the open Orthodoxy, could be they do allow it. They allow plenty of things. Right? They allow plenty of things. Okay, but they're not the norm. They're the left wing of modern Orthodox. They're not the norm. They're a fringe group trying to push the boundaries as far as they can go while still retaining the name Orthodox. But if you see what some of these rabbis say, then you see they're not Orthodox. And allowing gay marriages and different things, that's a problem. That's, again, even if I would agree with certain premises, doesn't mean just because you agree with it that you should do it. Because there are other issues. There are many other issues. I've seen Chabad teaching the Tanya to Noahites. Yeah, that's probably a common thing. They're teaching Hasidus to Noahites. So I would say you're teaching something that even if you water it down, it's not for them. Now, I would teach the book, and I have the book Derech Hashem, The Way of God, which is very much steeped in Kabbalah, which, I didn't give the Kabbalistic part over, but that I taught the non-Jews. Why? What's the book about? Why did God create the world? What's the purpose of man? What are the purpose of the nations? right? Reincarnation, the evil inclination. How the evil inclination work? These are things non-Jews still also have to know, right? People are going to say, well, most Orthodox Jews don't learn it. You're right. You're right. But is it an important thing for non-Jews to know also? What their purpose in the world is? How the evil inclination works? Sure. Reincarnation, how spiritual forces work? Okay. Not going into the intricacies of everything, since the book really doesn't do that, but it's giving you a perspective on things. Sure. Huge thing. It's game changer. Game changer how the world works. So people think I'm a fruitcake for teaching that also. But these are basic things that everybody has to know. Jews have to know, non-Jews have to know. You got to say, but, that's no different teaching Tanya. Tanya is a different thing. Tanya is a totally different thing. Non-Jews have to learn Hasidus for what? You want to tell me you water it down, you give them certain information, different thing. Whatever. Is it for them? It's not for them. Understanding how the world works, that's for them. How the evil inclination works, that's for them. How the repercussions for our actions and what can happen, that's for them. Right? That's for sure for them. That gives you a whole different perspective, change your whole world outlook. I gave class on that, for about a year and a half. I gave class on that for about a year, No Hide Nations. I gave 33 classes, 66 hours, right, over there. So these are things non-Jews have to know. I think they have to know. Other people will say you're nuts, but these are basic things. Without Kabbalah. Other things, no hide to tapping into, they shouldn't, yeah. 100%. But what are you going to do? That's what they want to learn. That's what they want to do. So who says it's good? Who says they're allowed to? It doesn't matter, they do it. There are plenty of people to do it. Now, can't stop everybody, but, people have to know it's bad. They're tapping into things that don't belong to them, that they shouldn't. Not only that, it's like learning how to run before you learn how to crawl or walk. It's like studying calculus without knowing algebra, trigonometry. So non-Jew, and I see these non-Jew super no-eyes, whatever, learning about Kabbalah, come on. They never learned the tractate of Talmud in their life, even if it would be permissible. They never come close to learning anything. You want to tell me they're learning Kabbalah and they should learn Kabbalah? Come on, you're jumping levels. Don't jump levels. There's plenty of what to learn even for non-Jews. Like I could keep people busy for the next 250 years learning what's permissible for them to learn. But if you tell them they can't learn it, that's the first thing they want to learn. That's a problem. That's definitely a problem. If no-eye doesn't marry, is it sinning? No-eye, non-Jew has an obligation to have children to make sure there are, there's a next generation. Now, what happens if they don't marry? Okay, they don't marry. It's something they didn't do. What happens if, if a Jew doesn't marry or have children? It's a mitzvah they didn't do. But should they have kids? Sure. Should they get married and have kids? But you don't just get married and have kids with anybody, right? That's not the point. So they say, but what if you never met anyone? It's too hard. Okay. Right? Do they have an obligation? They have an obligation. They have an obligation to have children, combat the evil inclination, have children. Right? Because the whole question about wasting seed is an obligation for no hides or not. Big discussion. We're not going into big discussion whether it's permissible or not. Many hold it is permissible. Many hold it's not permissible. Right? So just for that, it would, it would be worthwhile for a no-hide to marry. That's what I would say. As observant no-hide, if someone asks me about my religion, can you say you're Jewish? If a woman isn't pregnant, can she say she's pregnant? Can she, maybe she can say she's half pregnant, right? If she's not pregnant, can she say she's pregnant? No. Is the non-Jew a Jew if you haven't converted? No. How can you say you're Jewish? I've seen people ask the question if it, they're doing something. I don't remember what it is. Whatever, some government thing, or I forget what it was. And they said religion. Now, no, it's not necessarily recognized. Okay. May not be, but you can't say Jewish. Right? You wouldn't be allowed to say you're Jewish. Remember, there's a prohibition in the Torah that says you're not allowed to lie. It's a lie. I don't care about these other super no-hides. They think they can learn Kabbalah and do other things. They're not a Jew. They even admit they're not a Jew. They may say, well, maybe I'm a Ger Tosha. Well, that doesn't exist either, right? So I have to say other, and it's not recognized, not recognized, right? But how can you say you're Jewish if you're not? Oh, someone says, very good. Very good. After my recommendation, you brought Derech Hashem. I hope the book changed your life. Totally changed mine. Totally changed mine. Can non-Jews memorize the Torah? Sure. Why not? Not a problem. If that's what, they want to learn it over and over and over again, they're allowed to. Somebody asks, what do demons look like according to the Torah? Humans. If they exist at all today. Some say they don't exist at all today. But they're in human form. They do things like humans. They marry. They procreate. They go to the bathroom like humans. They do other things like angels. They fly around. Whatever angels do. There are other things they do like angels. Would we recognize a demon today? No. Demons don't have the same power they used to have. So we have no idea who they are. We never recognize them, but they are in human form. Right? Can a person say, well, that could be a demon? Could be, but we have no idea. They have human characteristics. They have spiritual, angelic characteristics. So angels are called children of God. Yeah, doesn't mean they're good looking. Good question. Are demons, are they good looking? I can't say. They're in human form. I'm not, we don't come in, in the time of the Talmud, they came in contact with demons. The Gemara says, where they hang out and different things that cause a lot of damage, to humans. What about other demons that look like humans? They're scary. Again, they have human characteristics. They look like men. Could be, like a woman. Would we know the difference if they're a demon? No. Or some of them, again, a person thinks like, I don't know, maybe like a goblin or something, the face could be, totally scary looking that you would look at and say, oh, that must be a demon. No. Person could be total human form, could be, in theory, could be a demon. Right? But again, demons don't, we don't come in contact with them today. They're not around today. They don't have the same power. They don't have the same power they used to, so I wouldn't worry about it. Way back when, it was a different issue. Right? It's a different issue. Someone asks, okay, blessing questions, trying to keep me honest there. If I have a meal, said all the blessings, then I see I don't have a fork. I run down and get a fork and back, where I say all the food blessings again. Remember one thing. Person makes a blessing. If you're a Jew or a JIT, you make a blessing, eat the food, and then then you're allowed to speak after you swallow. You don't make all the blessings in one shot. A person, let's say, they have spaghetti, meatballs, green beans, and they have a drink of soda. So they make a mazonos on the spaghetti. They eat the spaghetti. Then they make a shako. Let's say they make a prei adama. Right, comes from the ground on green beans. You swallow, very good. Now you have it, make a shako on the meatball. Right, you make a shako on the meatball, that covers your drink. A solid covers a liquid doesn't necessarily cover a solid. If you made a shako on the drink, you should go back and make a shako on the meatball. But the point is, when you make the blessing, you eat, you don't interrupt, you swallow, then you're allowed to talk. You don't make 3 blessings at once. How would you do that? You don't make a mazonos, a shako, and hadama, and then eat everything in one shot. That you can't do. That you can't do. You make one blessing, you eat. You make another blessing, you eat. Now, let's say you didn't have a fork, you made a blessing. So if you're able to, you pick it up with your fingers. If not, you have a very short amount of time to get that fork. In order that you don't have a blessing in vain. Because once you eat something, you have to swallow it. Otherwise, within 5 seconds, 10 seconds could be a blessing in vain. If you don't do the action. The action has to be what we call over la'asiyosa. It means when I do the action, I have to do what the action is. Right? We just read the book of Esther. The person who makes the blessings over the book of Esther, what's the first thing he does after everyone answers Amen? He reads the book of Esther. Someone makes the blessing over the shofar. What happens? After he makes the blessing, he starts blowing the shofar. right? So any blessing we make over food, you make the blessing, you eat it, then you're allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk if the food's in the middle of your mouth, you haven't swallowed. And if there was bread, you wash your hands again. Again, bread, you're not going to have an issue because you eat it with your hands. Right? So either there are other foods there, bread covers everything. So why would you have to wash your hands again? You made a blessing over bread, eat it. Forget about a knife and a fork. Right? You can eat bread with your fingers. Even you're going to tell me normally because you're English, you're going to eat it with a knife and fork. I feel your pain. Okay. I'm going to eat bread with my fingers. Right? An American is not going to eat bread with a knife and a fork. But even if you eat it with a knife and a fork, you say, oh, I forgot my fork. Let me run back and get it. Eat it with your fingers. Just pick it up, eat it, and that's it. So you don't have any issues. You don't have interruption issues. Then you go back and get, then you eat it. Then you go back and get your knife and fork. Every time you visit the bathroom, do you need to do the full Netilas Yadayim in prayer? No. The only time you make the blessing of sanctifying the hands is after you come out of the bathroom, first time in the morning. Right? Any other time you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, you do not make the blessing of Netilas Yadayim, of sanctifying the hands. You wash twice like you wash for bread. First time you wake up in the morning, you wash 3 times. You take it in your left hand or your right hand, and you pour the water on your left, you pour it on your right 3 times. And when you eat for bread, you only do it twice. When you come out of the bathroom, you only do it twice. I mentioned one back in the day, Rashi, even up to 1900, we're so more modest, right? That's right. Right? Today they look naked, sure. And people aren't embarrassed. People totally not embarrassed. Why? They're going to say, if you stare at your problem, could be, right? Could be it's a guy's problem. But if a person, if a Jewish woman dresses in a provocative way, guess what? She dresses in a provocative way, she might be over Torah prohibition, putting a stumbling block in front of someone. A non-Jew, not that way. Why? Even though maybe she shouldn't dress that way, there's no prohibition of putting a stumbling block if she does it. Does she have an obligation to dress modestly, a non-Jew? No. She doesn't have an obligation. Should she? I would say she should. But she doesn't have it's a moral obligation, moral imperative. Obligation, definitely not. Someone asked, should a woman read Tanya? I don't know. I don't think Hasidus is for women. Are there women into it? Could be. You say, what's the difference with Derech Hashem? I think Derech Hashem is different. If a person is learning other things and they understand Hasidus at a higher level, maybe. Oh, maybe I would say it's all right. Right? But, I think it's just very hard, in different ways. I would think things, Derech Hashem, I think would be better, or certainly Path of the Just or other Muslim books. These are things that are, they're not really for women. So, a person can say, but what if they understand on a deeper level and different things? Because I know someone's going to tell me, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And, they learn other things that are much deeper. Okay. Right. Is it a good thing? No, I definitely don't think it's a good thing. Right. There are some women, though, that, get a tremendous amount of enjoyment. They're holding at a higher level. Right. Could be. Someone here mentioned, there's someone posting on Facebook that Tanya's heretical. I don't know why. Why is it heretical? I don't know. I don't know why. Plenty of people read it. I think plenty of people study it. It's a classic work on Hasidus. I don't know. It could be people teaching it and they're teaching other people that they shouldn't teach. Could be, but that's not necessarily. The book itself is not heretical. Not that I'm aware of. Definitely not heretical. Right? It could be some people teaching it, could be an issue, but I don't think that's I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem. To read it if someone's on the if someone's on the level to read it, etc. Is it obligatory to dip challah into salt? Yes. Should be done. 100% because your table's like an altar, and on the altar, salt went on the altar, not just on Shabbos. Right? So you should put salt on bread when you eat it. 100%. If you have 3 things, a hamburger, bun, lettuce, tomato, after blessing, you're eating bread. Hamburger, bun is bread, right? You don't make a blessing on the vegetables. You're eating the vegetables with the bread, right? If you're eating like a sandwich, for sure, there's nothing to talk about, right? But if let's say you ate the bun by itself, take a bite of the bun by itself. and then you eat the vegetables. Okay, so what? The vegetables are there to enhance the bun. And even if they're not, bread exempts everything because the vegetables are part of the meal. If the vegetables are part of the meal, so that's it. You don't make a blessing on it. If food has multiple ingredients, pie or crisps, potato chips, common ingredients that require two separate blessings. Do we bless primary ingredient? Depends. If you have a pie, let's say, so the inside is exempt, usually. If the pie crust, let's say by what's it called? Cheesecake. Let's say you have a thick pie crust, so you make a mazonos because the cheese is there to enhance. If it's a very thin pie crust, you make a shackle because the most important thing is the cheese, right? So you go after the primary ingredient. Potato chips most likely are always hadama, except for some people say Pringles because the way they're processed, which may be shahakal, but a lot of rabbinical authorities say it still looks like a potato enough that you would make a hadam. What if food expired? You already said the blessing. If it's not disgusting, eat some of it. Sometimes, and I've learned this over the years, even if the expiration date has come, doesn't mean it's bad. You can still eat it, right? But if a person ate it and it's gross, you're not going to swallow it. You spit it out. Okay, right? Nothing you can do. Be a blessing in vain, but nothing you can do. So you always, the most important thing is always check the food and the dates before you eat it, right? Or if you're eating something, let's say that might potentially have a bug in it or whatever, check it to make sure before you eat it. Because the last thing you want to do is bite into an apple and you realize there's a big hole in there. You look in and it happens to be a worm and it's dead. So, you want to make sure. You want to make sure these things don't happen. So to the best of your ability, check the food before you eat it to make sure you don't have these issues. Yeah, and anyone who wants that class, I can send you a link for the class on Derech Hashem, $97. Anybody wants it? 33 hours, 33 classes, 66 hours. Any other questions? So someone says, okay, can they say they're a Jew? So someone asks, what do I say to them? Explain no hides takes hours. Yeah, that's a problem. Just say that, in a quick version, you'll say there are 7 laws as an umbrella. 7 laws given by God, to Adam, pass it down to Noah. We don't believe in idolatry. Can't eat a limb from a living animal, have law courts, whatever. And that's it. So we're not Christians. We're not Muslims. We're not Jews, but, we follow God's law. Right? If they say, well, can you explain that further? Then you say, well, it'll take hours. So very hard to explain on one foot. But is it allowed for Jews to constantly ask Christians for prayers? No. Why should they ask Christians for prayers? You want their blessing? They're praying in the name of JC. Why should you get a blessing from them? Why should you get a blessing from them? Why? And saying we're all the same, therefore prayers are good for Jews too, said by an observant Jew. I don't know why someone would say that. Someone is an idolater. Let me say better. Secular Jew desecrates Shabbos. Can you answer amen to their blessing? No. They're heretics. Essentially, they're heretics. Right? Doesn't matter. They know more, they know less. This, that. You shouldn't answer amen to their blessing. Some rabbinical authorities say if they don't know anything and blah, 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 you could. Whatever the case is, right? There are many rabbinical authorities say you can't answer. And not only that, but even if you did answer, where's their blessing going? They make a blessing, God, the source of all blessing, King of the world. Do you think they really mean it? You think they really have that intention? Minimal intention. I'm not talking Kabbalah. Minimal intention. You're answering amen to what blessing? What are they saying? They're not saying anything worthwhile. They don't believe in it. So why would I answer amen to their blessing? Now, so you have to ask that observant Jew. Go ask that observant Jew why you want a blessing from a Christian. Why would you want a blessing from a Christian? I have no idea. Ask them. I don't have a good answer. I have a bad answer. And that is, you should never take a blessing from a Christian. Oh, I want their blessing in the name of JC. Do me a favor. Let them give their own people blessing. I don't need their blessing. Not interested in their blessing. To God, let us make, right. Who did God say, let us make man in our image? The heavenly court. That's who we spoke to. He was showing his humility. He was showing his humility, but asking the heavenly court, great man, not great man, what should he do? Right. And finally he said, let us make man in our image. So he's showing humility. People can make a mistake and say, oh, there's more than one God. Okay, so they'll make a mistake. But he's talking the heavenly court. If Noahide is tempted by reform, again, it's not popular to be a fanatic. To go according to what God wants. It's much easier being, more liberal, more lenient, being more worldly, much, much easier. The world is not about being easy. The world is about doing, we're living in this world to do what's right. Right? So we have to get this mentality out of our head. We want to be like we want to, appease other people. It's not about appeasing. Is the Torah true? It's not true. If it's true, why am I going to be tempted by reform? What does reform have to offer? Intermarriage, assimilation, gay rights? What do they have to offer? Everything they say is wrong. It's upside down. Their whole goal is to uproot Torah. So let me ask you, what are you tempted by? Where's the temptation in a group that their whole goal is to uproot Torah? All right, someone wants that link. I'll send you the link to that. I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook. I'm Chaim Kaufman. We'll be on Orthodox Conversion Judaism or on YouTube at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, depending where you are. And